Today, I wanted to talk to you about the #1 thing that can help you improve at Marvel Rivals in 2025. And listen, this is going to sound a little bit rambly. You might be like, where the heck is this going, Chris? But I promise you that if you stay until the end of this video, you will not only gain some valuable lessons that will help you improve your game in Marvel Rivals, but there's some pretty decent life advice as well, all right? So those of you who don't know me, my name's Chris. I also go by Bootman, and I'm probably older than a decent amount of you who are watching this video. I'm 39 years old, and I have some life experience. So some of my gaming history, I actually started back in the pro esports scene, back in the Counter-Strike 1.6 days, in the early 2000s when esports was first taking off. I was one of the first professional coaches for a team named 3D. So I've been in the gaming scene for a while now. But that's not where I want to start this story. I am actually a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. This year, in 2025, I will be coming up on 13 years sober. And again, you're probably like, Chris, what the heck does this have to do with anything? Well, towards the end of my addiction, in 2012, I had a 3-year-old son who just actually turned 16 yesterday. I told you guys, I'm an old man. But I was hitting my rock bottom in addiction. I was dying. I was going to the hospital every other week. And when I finally got sober, I had like a 20% chance of living because I had congestive heart failure. I had tried to get sober before, many times before. I tried to get sober and it just wasn't working. And the #1 reason that I was not getting sober was because I thought I knew everything. No matter what anybody told me, no matter what advice somebody tried to give me, I didn't want to listen to it because I was smarter than everybody. I understood what I needed to do so nobody can help me because I knew it all. When I finally got sober, and this was the thing that saved my life, was that I had to realize that I didn't know anything. I needed help from other people. I needed to take advice. I needed to learn something. I was 27 years old at that time, and just even looking back now, right? I have learned so much more during that time. But the main point of this video that I want to talk to you about is this lack of humility that so many of us have. We always think that we're right. We always think that we know what's best. Nobody could teach us anything. We never do anything wrong. But once we take a step back and we say, oh, wait, I am fallible. There are things that I can improve on. I promise you that your game will get so much better. So you might be wondering what inspired this video. So I have been kind of casually gaming for years now, but I've been getting a little bit more into the competitive aspect of gaming recently with Marvel Rivals. Right before this, I was playing a lot of Deadlock, and I'm a competitive type of person. But something I noticed about in Deadlock is just, since it's a role-based team game, is that it's never anybody's fault, right? When you lose, it's nobody's fault, okay? The tanks and the DPS are blaming the healers are blaming the tanks and the DPS for going in too much, not being available to get healed because they're around corners and all that other stuff. But at what point do we take a step back and say, hey, what did I do wrong? Where can I level up my game? Because I'm telling you that if you end every single loss thinking that you were not the problem, you are never going to improve. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. So when you keep going into game after game after game and losing, but it's everybody else's fault, you are never going to improve. And we really need to think about that. Take a step back and think about what you're doing right there. If you blame everybody for each one of your losses, you are basically saying that you are the perfect optimal player and there is no room for you to improve because you are never wrong. I think that's something important to take a step back and ask yourself as well. Ask yourself, when was the last time you reflected on a game and said, you know what, here's what I could have done better. Here's where I screwed up, okay? I'll use myself as an example. I've been, ranking up. I play with buddies, and, I actually managed to hit diamond rank. And as you start to rank up, and I will actually be making a video on this, on like how to rank up and just like some lessons that I learned, so make sure you're subscribed, okay? But anyways, as I ranked up, I realized that there were certain things that I needed to improve about in my game. I primarily play strategist. I do a lot of healing. And as you start getting into platinum and even diamond, so much of the game is reliant on alt management, right? Like I would pop like, you know, my Luna alt or Mantis alt, just, you know, on a whim, right? Just at weird times, you know? And one of my buddies pointed it out because, you know, I've known him for like 20 years now and he's really into competitive esports as well. And he's like, hey, as you get to these higher ranks, it's really about alt management. You need to save that ultimate for when like Psylocke alt, right? And it started to click for me. But I didn't sit there and just make some weird excuse about it. I said, oh, that makes sense. And once I started managing my ults a little bit better as a healer, we started winning a little bit more. We started flipping different fights and we started watching the other team blow their ults. And it was just this simple thing. But I also play with a lot of people where you offer them some kind of advice or some criticism and it's just never their fault, right? And this is a huge problem. So something that I highly recommend for everybody, it's something I teach my son, it's something I always try to remember as well, is to just have that intellectual humility and never stop learning, never stop analyzing, never stop looking back and saying, what could I have done better? Something that I do a ton, and it's something that I've been doing throughout my esports career because I wasn't a player in my pro esports day. I was a coach. I started out as an analyst for one of the biggest esports websites. It was called GotFrag. But something I did was I would analyze demos. I used to make these things called playbooks for Counter-Strike 1.6. So I love watching replays. Something I do a lot in my spare time, aside from watching some of the top players stream, is that I watch a ton of replays. I sit there and I ask myself, what are they doing? Why are they doing it? If you're a subscriber here, you've probably seen some of my videos breaking down the replays and just sitting back and analyzing them myself. And I like to take some of you on that journey with me and saying, oh, what is this person? What are they doing to get better? And the fact that you're even, you know, clicking on a video with a title like this, I can tell that you want to get better, but how does that translate for you in the game? How are you going into a game and how are you dealing with your losses? What are you doing afterwards? You know what I mean? But if you are picking up like brand new heroes and you're trying things out and then you're not taking advice from anybody or you're not trying to learn from your mistakes, you are going to plateau, okay? So we can't just sit around in every single game blaming everybody for mistakes. So the last thing I will leave you with is that we really need to just start getting curious. We need to start asking questions and stop getting so offended, right? I see so many people where I'm like afraid to offer any kind of advice or criticism because people get so quickly offended. And I think, you know, from a psychological aspect, from a mental health aspect, people take that as a personal shot at themselves, like, oh, you're a bad player. No, nobody's calling you a bad player. We're just offering you some advice. Now, don't get me wrong. You are in the world of gamers. There are going to be people who are trolling you and trash talking you, but you have to weed through all that nonsense and find people who are actually offering you constructive advice and ask yourself like, hey, is this good advice? Should I take it? Because people are gonna offer you bad advice, but you cannot just get offended by every single thing somebody says to you that might help you improve, if that makes sense. So please, 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 if you want to get better in 2025, start practicing a little bit of humility. Realize that you are not the best player. The top players in this game, in any game, in professional sports, they are improving and they are at the top of their game because they know that there is always room for improvement. And if the top people at the highest levels of play can have that kind of humility and realize that they need to improve, what are you doing? What are you doing where you think that you are the perfect player and no loss is ever your fault, all right? So also, if you don't know me, I like to drop a little bit of tough love, but trust me, it'll be worth it, okay? So let's all learn, let's all improve together, and let's make 2025 the year that we all hit one above all, or eternity rank, whatever your goals are for 2025 in Marvel Rivals, all right? But anyways, thanks so much. If you stuck around, you're a real one, okay? But thanks so much for watching. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, ring that notification bell. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos with like replay breakdowns, tips and tricks, and if you like videos like this, maybe I'll do some more just kind of talking and giving some of my thoughts on the overall game and everything like that. All right, but again, thanks so much for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day. Have an amazing start to your new year, and I will see you in the next one.